Alrighty then. Let's see. Waiting for the nice green box. Okay, looks like we're here and live. Hey, Carl Killo, good morning. A little bit of shake, wake, rattle and roll. Get myself going. I'm loaded up. Oh yeah. I'm just gonna babble today. It's Sunday until I dump everything out of me that I need to. Uh, the two coffee thing. Um, I used to have this buddy, and we drank like fish, and he'd walk around parties with two drinks in his hand, and he'd say things like, "You got two hands, you need two drinks." Oh God, bad, 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 bad. All right, let me just take a quick peek at the stream, make sure it's going well. All right, looks like that's working all right. So, okay, so what do I want to talk about today? Well, I've got this. I always have this little clip that runs in my mind, and it's from the old Pink Panther movies with Inspector Clouseau, and Clouseau's this bumbling. If you haven't seen the Pink Panther movies, the later ones are fantastic. With gosh, why am I forgetting his name? Who played Clouseau? Peter Sellers, and just a really rotten. Peter Sellers was a really rotten human being, but an amazing actor, just amazing. He was in things like um, Doctor Strangelove. Wow, he played like three different characters in there, and then all the Pink Panther movies and a couple other crazy things. If you've never watched Being There, my father drove me nuts by he had a videotape recording of Being There, and and they play it over and over again, and it's a really dry movie with really dark and dull British humor, I guess. And well, I don't remember the movie well enough um, to say to tell you more about it. Other than that it drove me absolutely insane. But one of the last Peter Sellers Pink Panther movies, was the Return of no Pink Panther Strikes Again. And we're going to take a little peek at that right now because in every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better, and I think it's kind of it's a fantastic little joke on how to think about self improvement. All right, so let's see. I haven't done this in a while. Let's go down to my yeah. All right, let's move this guy over here. All right, let's take a little watch. This is pretty funny. So the background for this is uh, Inspector Dreyfus has been driven insane by Inspector Clouseau in the previous movies, and he's been recovering in a mental hospital because Clouseau stumbles and bumbles his way into success, and no matter how hard Dreyfus tries, Clouseau gets all the credit, and Dreyfus looks like an idiot, and everybody loves Clouseau, even though and Dreyfus is the only one that knows that Peter Sellers' character is absolutely worthless. Let's take a look.
Good morning, Doctor.
Oh, good morning, Charles. You're looking splendid.
I feel splendid.
Every day and in every way, you're feeling better,
and better. Indeed.
Now, why don't you sit here?
Wouldn't you like me to...
Not unless you want to.
No? It'll be quite comfortable here. Thank you. Doctor, I'm surprised.
Oh, of course, you quit.
3 months ago. You know, there was a time when your forgetfulness would have made me feel very rejected.
Not now. Hmm?
Well, a little rejected, perhaps. Did you do it intentionally?
Why should I do that?
Well, I have a patient you consider to be completely rehabilitated. On your recommendation soon to appear before the
Forgive me, I'm not
board.
looking at chat or anything
Your
right now. Hey,
reputation
Thomas,
on
if
the
you
line.
jumped in, welcome.
A little test, perhaps.
Not very long ago, an obvious trick like that would have sent you into a towering rage.
And poor old Clouseau would have silently and passively submitted to another massacre. It's a miracle you were somehow able to keep putting him back together again. Poor old Clouseau. There was a time when I couldn't even speak his name.
There was also a time when you would joyfully have killed him.
Yes. I was a sick man, wasn't I? We've come a long way, haven't we?
And you're not even a little bit bothered when you think of Clouseau?
Not even a little bit. Do you believe me?
If you say so.
Well, I could be lying. You are a good psychiatrist, but I may be a better liar.
For your sake, I hope you're not. Sooner or later, you would run into Clouseau and then back here for life. No more chance of another hearing.
Coming here day after day, watching you chain smoke yourself into an early grave, and knowing that on certain mornings you'll be particularly morose and testy because you've had another fight with your wife, like this morning.
How do you know that?
It's the only time you doodle.
I keep forgetting you used to be Chief Inspector of the Sûreté.
And will be again.
But Clouseau is Chief Inspector now.
Check him out. I mean, he's got all this ambition and drive, and he knows exactly what the problem is. But can he control it? You're going to find out in a bit.
Till the better man comes along.
Well, in that case, I think Inspector Clouseau had better start looking to his laurels.
What? You mean?
The board meets at 2 this afternoon.
This afternoon?
If everything goes as I expect it to, you'll be out of here this afternoon.
Thank you.
See you at 2. Clouseau!
Now, Doctor. Some people would consider your methods most unorthodox.
I was just making sure that you're not a better liar than I am a psychiatrist.
2 o'clock.
So here he is in this nice, peaceful environment, feeding the ducks, the swan. And his worst nightmare is approaching.
Oh.
It is a mental asylum. Of course, we don't really have those anymore, do we? There's a lot of cheap humor in here, but that's kind of what it's all about.
That's all of this. Pull on the hips. Out with the bad air, in with the good.
Ah, I got disconnected. Well, it's going to be a messy edit. Turn some of this stuff off. I've probably forgotten to turn off some of my other networking traffic. Alright, let's try that again.
Out with the bad air, in with the
Make
good.
sure we're still going here.
Ah. In.
Don't look, Fiona.
Ah. Ah. And now, the kiss of life.
Well, okay, so the whole point is, no matter what Dreyfus does, if he's around his nemesis, he can't control himself, and horrible things happen to him all the time.
Clouseau.
Please, there is no need to thank me
Thank you.
for saving a life.
And Clouseau's completely oblivious.
I was hit on the head.
Yes, you have received a beam upon the head.
Bimp?
What?
You said bimp.
He
Yes,
beat.
I know that. It is a large bump. You could receive the concussion from such a bump. Allow me to assist you.
No! I'm all right. I'm fine. Never better. Just a little shaky. Probably the shock of, the surprise of seeing you here again today.
Well, I received a report from the Sanity Commission that they were going to review your case today, so I thought a few words.
Well, basically what happens next is Clouseau knows that Dreyfus is going to get out. Skip forward a little bit. And Dreyfus ends up getting dumped in the lake again.
Every day, and in every way, I'm getting better and better.
And now he's
over the rainbow.
talking himself into it while he's going
I'm
insane.
afraid that this is just not your day, my friend.
But it is my day. It is, my friend. After 3 long, terrible years, it is at last my day. I will not not permit anything, repeat anything to spoil it. Now, I will walk you to the gate, and I will kiss you goodbye, and you will drive off in your new car, which should rightfully be mine. And then I will have my interview with the Sanity Commission, and they will set me free. And then I will kill you. Kill you! Once more! Kill you! At the car! Kill! Kill you!
All right. Well, the whole point is that, again, no matter what, Dreyfus isn't able to control himself, and if he would concentrate on himself, then he'd be okay. But he chases his demon down, trying to crush it, and he can't change the demon side of himself. Clouseau is Dreyfus's dark side disembodied, and all the things in the world that get in his way, that keep him from being able to succeed, and he chooses to let his dark side rule him rather than acknowledging it and possibly ignoring it and concentrating on the good parts that he had. If he would let go of his obsession with Clouseau, then Dreyfus would have been just fine. But he's completely obsessed by him. So you want to acknowledge the bad, dark things, but you don't want to let them control you. And Dreyfus lost all control. So anyways, I thought I'd share that. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about me, because I know that's what you guys are all here for. Ha. All righty, let's mute the desktop there and go back to Great Big Me. All righty, so, well, feeling a lot better. Got some good sleep last night. I've been starting on my fasting schedule, and I eat very, very lightly, maybe just about 600 calories a day, and I stick to proteins, fats, and greens for what I do eat. So you end up inducing, it's called ketosis, when your body starts burning fat to produce the blood sugar that your brain actually needs to survive, because your brain runs on glucose. And ketosis can be kind of uncomfortable. You end up getting carb cravings, and that sort of thing. And when you start going through ketosis and losing weight, you really can actually get a lot of energy out of it. It seems extremely backwards. And I mentioned this in the video last time, that actually what happens is, I think there's some connection between, all right, well, we had a big, large meal maybe a week ago, and it's been a while since we had one, so it's time to have plenty of energy to go hunt down the next wounded antelope on the savannah, because that's what our ancestors did. We went chasing after wild game, and maybe we had some way to wound it from a distance. Spears were one of the first projectile weapons, and then all you would have to do is tire the animal out, and your group would eventually be able to chase it down. And often this would take days. So it makes a lot of sense that when you go on a diet, you're actually going to get a whole bunch of energy, because if we didn't have energy, we wouldn't be able to get the next meal 100,000, well, or millions of years ago, and we wouldn't be here because we would have all starved and died off. It's kind of an interesting way our biology works. So, anyways, lots more energy. Got some better sleep last night. Let's take a look about what I wrote down in my journal, and maybe you'll find something useful for yourself as well. Let's see. Oh yeah. So speaking of the double-fisted coffee and the um, want to drink, because I do have some very alcoholic tendencies in me. Maybe I'm a full-blown alcoholic, I don't know, but hey, it's as long as I'm aware of it, then I can look at my demon and go, look, you're that alcoholic slob over there, and no, you don't get to rule me, and I know what you want, and no, you're not going to shoot me in the head with an arrow, Clouseau, alcohol, dude, stop it. Something like that. Okay. So I went into Walmart, and oh God, I used to go into Walmart to grab a bottle of something, or you know, giant 12-pack of beer, and get me started, and I'll go through that stuff in a day. I mean, 6 beers easy, no problem. I have an amazing tolerance for it, and I know this is something that is genetic inside of me. My father was the same way. And, you know, I think it goes beyond just a want or desire to drink. It's more deeply seated than that. It's like, how should we say? Yeah, I identified this, and my father was a very heavy man. And he looked just like me when he was younger, and I've got his pouch right now. I've got a big massive tire around my waist that I'm trying to get rid of. That's why I'm bothering to diet and getting back into the exercise routine. But he never exercised, but he would diet off and on. But then when he got hit with cancer, it was just, you know, well, that's a really hard thing to deal with, so I could understand at that point. But leading up to that, it was probably all the bad habits that gave him the cancer in the first place. He smoked. He was an industrial hygienist, which means he was constantly exposing himself in his job to dangerous situations with dangerous chemicals. And, well, who knows where he got his actual cancer from, but all the things that he did probably kept him from being able to fight the cancer. If you didn't know this about cancer, sorry, I'm going on a little ramble here, but if you didn't know this about cancer, your body is producing cancerous cells all the time. It's something that happens naturally. And because mistakes happen, I mean, you have trillions of cells in your body, and they're replicating all the time, and mistakes get made. And sometimes one of the mistakes that gets made is a cell that will end up as an imperfect copy, and that imperfect copy will stay around for a while and still be functional, but then the imperfect copies are replicated too. And if those imperfect copies start later on down the road start making more mistakes, and they get an even more broken version of a cell, and eventually some of those cells start turning cancerous. And when that happens, there's the immune system of the body can recognize your own cells that are not doing the right thing anymore, and then it goes and attacks them. And this happens naturally all the time. We all have cancer in us all the time. And so it's really important to not put things in your body that make it hard for your body to fight the cancer that's naturally occurring in your body all the time. Now, of course, there's carcinogens and other things that do make cancer even more likely. And that's what a carcinogen is. It makes the mistakes of DNA replication even more likely. And that's why you get cancer when you get exposed to radiation, because you basically get enough cells fried. Your body can't keep up with that, and then once some cancerous cells start to spread to a certain degree, there's no way your body can fight it off, and you're lucky if chemotherapy will help you at that point if you got a really bad dose of radiation. Same reason why you don't want to get sunburn, skin burn. So, same reason you don't want to get sunburn here. I'm gonna get rid of my narcissistic tendencies and minimize that window because I'm staring at myself the whole time. Okay, so if you go out in the sun too much, eventually you're gonna burn yourself to a crisp, and your skin is taking radiation damage from the sun. So hey, wear your sunscreen. All right. Well, why was I talking about my dad? Well, I identified maybe about a decade ago what the problem with my father was. And it wasn't that he liked to drink, although that was a symptom of it. What he liked to do was consume. He loved putting things inside of his body. I do too. Man, I love to eat. And I'm really happy right now that I'm not feeling those cravings, and this is why I like fasting. And because once you get over the hump, if you do alternate day fasts, you can reward yourself about every other day with a junky trash meal, and then your body has plenty of time to detox that, and you just go back to eating protein, fat, greens. Protein and fat and greens. Sorry, I should state that a little bit more clearly. And that way you can still not feel like it's an unpleasurable thing. You don't have to feel guilty about having that hamburger every once in a while because you're not overdoing it. And your cravings tend to drop and go away. Or at least that's what I find in myself. So yeah, my dad loved to consume things, and that is inside me as well. It's in my genes. Hard thing to fight. But knowing about it lets you not chase it down and go, okay, well, no, you just don't get to rule me. Gobble, gobble guy. No. You go sit in the corner. I'm going to go be me. So which personality of yourself are you going to let actually come out? And the trick is when you let the dark guy in the corner take over and manifest himself more and more, it becomes easier and easier and easier to indulge. And this is why we have addictions. You indulge in the addiction, whatever it is, that builds the neural pathway, and then you can be easily triggered into a desire to drink, in my case. So if you have a drink, or you see somebody drinking, then you want to have a drink. If you see somebody drinking, if you get reminded of times when you drink, if you think about something triggers an old memory, and the dark guy isn't sitting in the corner, he's right next to you, waiting to jump into your skin and completely manifest himself by running down to Walmart and buying a bunch of beers, buying a bottle, and he'll waste your day. It's pretty frightening how easy that can be. And it doesn't have to be alcohol. It can be anything. Anything that's demotivating, that makes us feel entertained or engaged, lets us forget about there's a whole world out there to go shape and form. And that's where real pleasure comes from, because you see the work that you do, and you go build something, and then you can look at the thing that you built and realize the good guy that built that. And then the good guy in you is stronger. That neural pathway personality of the builder inside of you is strengthened. And that is a very valuable thing. So habits work both ways. You can be triggered into a bad habit like drinking, or spending all day on the couch and eating bonbons and binge watching Stranger Things, playing old video games over and over, stuffing yourself with pizza because you're too lazy to cook. Or you can build great habits. I get up, what do? I get up in the morning and I get started immediately. The first thing I do is, no, dark guy, dark personality guy, you're back there in the corner. Good, hardworking personality guy, let's sit down and get to work. Here I am in front of the camera doing what I love doing. This is great. I love voicing all this. I really hope it's helpful for you all. I'm feeling really good about this. Okay, let's see what next. No, so I went to the Walmart, and yeah, that's one of my triggers. And so I get my goal. Why was I in Walmart in the first place? Well, I'd taken my son to his piano recital practice, and I had some time to kill, so I'm like, well, I'll just go walk into Walmart. I didn't really have any goal. I was like, well, I'll see what kind of audiovisual equipment is in there. Maybe I'll get some ideas. But then I walk through the door, and I'm like, well, there's that beer aisle. I could just go grab a can and... No. So I felt really good about overcoming that. No, Mr. Clouseau, you don't get to decide what I do. Good guy Dreyfus will not be driven insane by you, Mr. Alcoholic Clouseau. All right, so, well, that was a pretty good day yesterday. I had some running around to do with the kids, like I said, and then what happened after that? Oh, yeah, well, I had only slept like 3 hours the previous night and 4 hours the night before because the body's going, look, you need to go spear an antelope. But eventually, you run out of steam and energy. And when I run out of energy, I really do dip lower in my ability to manifest good guy. And bad guy comes out of the corner and says, hey, there's a bunch of things around here you don't like. Kids are being noisy. You don't like that. Let's go tell them to stuff it for a bit. And let's do it in a nasty way. That'll make you feel better, right? Well, yeah, it will. You snap at somebody and you get a little rush of, I'm trying to impose my will upon the world and others. And it gives us, if you're from, well, you may not be familiar with this concept, but Jordan Peterson has talked about dominance hierarchies, and we're always trying to rank ourselves. Am I up here in relation to my kids? Because the thing that will really piss you off is when your kids try to climb up above you in the dominance hierarchy. Because then you can't instruct them well on how to behave in the world. And it's their job to test you. So can you remain calm and cool as they test you? Because they're not doing it to be nasty little brats. They're doing it to figure out how they're supposed to behave. And they have to do that. Kids have to do this because if you were born into, let's say, pre-World War II Germany, to take an extreme example, then, and you see all around you people stressed and getting taken away and enslaved, and shipped off to internment camps. Of course, nobody knew exactly what was going on there, but the idea is that if you're born into a really stressful environment, you may have to look out for number one. And the more nurturing an environment a child is given, then they can take more time figuring out how to climb the dominance hierarchy and how to use their will to shape the world in a good way, in a peaceful way. That doesn't mean you coddle them. It means but you can slowly introduce them to different risks that will challenge them and give them, like, a tiny little bit of danger, a little bit of peril. Can we go over there? Nope, too perilous. Well, Monty Python for you there. And this comes into my at least theoretical understanding of something called epigenetics, and certain proteins are produced inside the body when we're exposed to high amounts of stress. And so if you stress a kid out when they're really, really young, then they're going to become very rebellious. Well, that's a likely path that they will take. They'll become very rebellious. They will become strong-willed because they'll have to, because the body is producing things that give them, okay, I'm number one and I got to look out for me, or else I'm not going to survive to keep this game going and to have kids, and then maybe they'll grow up a little bit differently than I did. Something like that. That's what the kid would think to themselves. So it's really important that I not be super snappy, grumpy dad, and when I feel that the reduction of energy from lack of sleep, then it's time to go get some darn sleep, because, well, you know how kids get when they get tired and grumpy, they're completely unreasonable, and adults are the same way. This is why people that can't function in the morning without their double-fisted coffee. I'm not that bad, but the coffee helps me articulate a little bit better when I'm on the camera, so I'm indulging. But so if I'm going to be grumpy and snappy with them and harsh, then I'm going to stress them out, and the stress that they receive is going to make them even more free-spirited and free-willed and push back even more. Because I'm demonstrating to them that you better stand up for yourself, or else you're going to get pushed around. Now, some kids will react differently, and their survival mechanism will be to curl up in a little ball. Both paths are really terrible, especially for young boys. Young boys are very difficult when they're stressed out. And so you either go in the way of manifesting a whole bunch of really, really strong-willed kids, especially young boys. All this can happen with girls too. It's just that the percentage chance of it happening to a boy is higher. And this is why, and for good reason, because, well, in the past, the guy has a high testosterone level. He's going to be, and testosterone makes you aggressive and a risk taker. And so you have to realize that if you induce stress in a child, especially a young boy, one way is that they're probably going to push back. And I notice this in my youngest son all the time. I push back at him, he pushes back at me. And I have to really be present and realize when I'm getting nasty and grumpy and not a good dad, not being a good dad, because you can't learn from me then. If I'm nasty and grumpy and I try to just force him to do things, then all I'm teaching him is, well, the way to get your way in the world is to make sure you don't get pushed around. My youngest is really, really strong-willed, and he won't take getting pushed around. However, he's a real sharp cookie, and if you get him to calm down, and you reason with him and you explain things, he gets it. And so I can't be in that grumpy mode. I can't afford it, because if I'm grumpy, then all I can think about is, you nasty little snot, why are you driving me insane? And he's not. He's just doing what he's supposed to do. He's doing what any human would do when pushed around. You either curl up in a little ball and you avoid the conflict, or you stand up straight and you say, nope, I'm not down here anymore. I'm up here, and you're not pushing me around anymore. So, really, really important for me to be aware when I start to get tired, because that makes me much more likely to lose my temper and not have patience. So, That feels good to say. All right. Okay, so what else? All right, well, I think that's most of what I wanted to say about my day yesterday. What am I going to do today? Well, little future plans. Let's see. I didn't write anything down. I should have written these down. What do I want to do today? Well, this, of course. Kid's got a piano recital later. Well, you guys don't need to hear the whole litany of things that I'm going to do, but I think what I really need to get my web presence and a page up and running. I need a way to attract like-minded individuals to myself, and I think that doing that through email is going to be one of the best ways to do that, because I want to engage with people that are looking for self-improvement, and they're doing it actively and with purpose. And I don't want to... The free content and the things that I just spit out there will be just fine for engaging with the the general public and whoever happens to stumble upon my videos by me just spreading them around. But the people that I want to bring into my inner circle, that I really want to work with, are the ones that are constantly trying to improve themselves, as I will be, and that will give us common ground. And that kind of common ground, I think, even extends beyond political beliefs. Because if you're trying to make yourself the best individual that you can be, then other people are going to see that too. And regardless of what you believe the best way to change the world is, you're both trying to make yourself as awesome as possible. And that's going to give you the connection that can't be broken. Okay. All right, here's a gentleman I do want to share with you. I have not talked to him in years, but he's an outstanding trader if you are into trading at all. Let's see. Just look up Tim Morge real quick. So Tim Morge is a real fantastic guy. Great high market geometry, of course. How could I forget that? Great professional trader. Let me make sure that I'm sharing my screen here. Boop. So Tim Morge has marketgeometry.com, and I thought I'd do a favor to him, because he really is a man of high character with a great family, and I've always been very grateful to the work that he does. I'm not doing this for money. This is my debt to him for the kindness that he has given me, for doing the work to try to instruct and make sure that people understand the markets well enough so that they don't get duped by the unscrupulous people that are just out for money. Because trading's always been a little bit of a shady, well, it has the potential to be shady, because there's always been dirty tricks on Wall Street, and anytime you have a market like that and people trading, well, you can either trade with honesty or you can trade through deception, and both can work. One's sustainable and the other is not. But if you just look at trading from a money-making perspective, then you're doing it the wrong way, and that's not sustainable. Okay, so Tim Morge, I'll give you a little story on him. He learned how to use, if you've ever used some charting software, there's a tool in there called an Andrews pitchfork. I'll show you one real quick. So if you're a trader, tradingview.com is a really great place to go. Here I've got a daily chart of Bitcoin up. Let's take a look at the NASDAQ. And an Andrews pitchfork is just one of these guys here. You click 3 points, and it tells you something about, how did Tim always put it, the probable path of price. And the idea being that if you draw a fork like this, there's a really high chance that that price will reach this is called the median line of the pitchfork. And if that happens, then, well, you got to wait and stop and see what price is after that. Well, anyways, just a quick overview to tell you how some of the things he uses to trade. I don't want to get into that right now. But fantastic guy, great character. Let me prop his ethos up a little bit. He trades billions. Literally. He has the full management of several countries' sovereign wealth funds. And he produces 20% returns for them. All through the methods that he learned through Dr. Andrews. And he was one of the last people, I think, to learn directly from Dr. Andrews before he passed away. Lots of really great history in there. Dr. Andrews made all of his money shorting the market in the 30s. And guess who he helped out? And the more I learn about the Kennedys, the more jaded I am about Dr. Andrews. But, yeah, he had the Kennedys' money. And he made them even more fantastically rich than they would have been otherwise. All right, well, Tim Ward for you there. Okay, so there's my prop for him. So I wrote down yesterday evening, anything of value requires work. And why not? It absolutely should. Let me get back into, because I know you want to see more of me. Anything that you do that's worthwhile, that produces money, had better require some work on your part. Do not spend your time looking for magic solutions. Realize anything that you buy into is going to require you to get off your butt and create value for others, because that's what money is. Money is a store of value. Okay. So money isn't just this magic thing that you get. Well, unless you inherit it or you get it through the lottery, which is, well, those are good topics for video blogs. I'll probably have some rants about those. Well, that's what it is. You can't. I mean, and it all goes back to, before we had money. The idea was that I do something that helps you, and you do something that helps me. Maybe I'm really good at fixing roofs, and you're really good at cooking, and so I fix your roof, and you might make me meals for a month. Who knows? But a direct trade like that is really hard to do. So if the magic of money was that we could store our hard work and effort into a form that we could trade with anybody. And it's sort of this shared mythology that the money has value. Well, the money has value because someone had to go work to get it. And originally, all money was, actually scarce metals, because you had to use something that is scarce in order to keep people from doing things like, there's a great line in one of Douglas Adams' books, who wrote The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. An entire planet gets rid of its useless population by shipping them off into giant space arcs to another planet. And so there's like telephone sanitizers and hairdressers and basically lawyers and people that are really, really not providing a whole lot of value to society. And when they crash land, the first thing they do, I bet there's a bunch of HR people in there too. Sorry, HR guys, not a fan. So I know some of you guys do some great work, but I'm a bit jaded right now. All right, so they crash land on this new planet. I think the old planet was called Golgotha or something like that. And anyway, so all the useless people crash land on the planet, and the first thing they start doing is having meetings. And they meet and they decide, well, you know what? We're going to adopt the leaf as the central currency. What? Well, why don't we use leaves as money? well, because there's so darn many of them. And the joke that Douglas Adams made was, yeah, we got a big inflation problem right now, and because the going rate of our currency is something like 2 deciduous forests buying you a loaf of bread or something like that, which was I thought was a great joke. So yeah, you can't just print money, government, and have it mean something. Money is valuable because it represents someone's work. Someone at some point in the past did something for someone else and got money in exchange for it. That's the value of money. And so I want to really instill this idea in myself and others, because not only because it goes even deeper than that. Money is supposed to be a convenience for us so that we can spread our value more easily throughout the rest of the world. If you just make money out of thin air, what are you doing? And that's part of the reason why trading is very borderline on whether it creates value or not. Now, it definitely does, because people need to be able to trade to get to the thing that they want. But the point of trading is not to click a button and then go drink 5 beers and spend a bunch of money on hookers and blow. You're not doing anybody any favors then. Well, except for the drug dealers and hookers. All right. I got a little shady there, sorry. But look, money has to represent value. And so you shouldn't feel bad about getting money as long as you are providing a valuable service to someone else. That's the key. If you create value, then you deserve all the money you can get. If you do not, you don't deserve any money at all. Money should be a tool that rewards the hardworking. And the hardworking can decide that those who are unable to work, we can feel good about helping them. For those that are unwilling to work, we don't help them when we give them money, other than keeping them from starving and then hoping that maybe one day they turn it around. But if the money just keeps on coming and they're happy just sitting around waiting for their biological clock to tick, for the last telomere on that one cancerous cell to drop off, to end their time on this planet, then they unfortunately are not deserving of receiving value. And that's the harsh reality of it, and it's why there is so much suffering in the world, I believe. Because you have to overcome the demon in you that makes you want to sit around and do whatever you can to drip dopamine into this thing to feel good about yourself. That's what alcohol does. It's a cheap path to happiness. And thank God you pay a price for it the next day, or else we might have so many people that don't do anything except wire themselves up to the alcohol dopamine drip. It's a sad thing to happen. So one last rant about money and then I'll shut it down. When the government prints it, it does not create value. It just makes all the money that's already out there worth less. Government prints money, and your money becomes less valuable. And you know what? The government gets the full benefit of the printing by selling bonds or even more nefariously through this huge chain that they have going through the Fed where they control interest rates. Because an interest rate is basically set based on the availability of money. Because if you give someone a loan, you're saying, here's some resources, and because I've built up the store of value, I can give you some resources so that you can spread that around to the people that you need. And in return, I expect that you give me even more value out of the thing that you built with the money I lent you. That's what interest is. So you can't just manipulate an interest rate like our governments do. It's completely backwards. It doesn't provide stability. It's a security blanket. It makes us feel like the government is looking over us and smarter people are protecting us. No, they're not. Inflation is an insidious thing that robs money right out of your pocket while you sleep every single day. And I'll leave you with this quote from the great Milton Friedman, who was a professor of economics at the University of Chicago. And Friedman said, and I'm paraphrasing, that inflation is first and always a monetary phenomenon. That means that if you print more money, then each dollar that is remaining and now in the supply is worth less and less. And you see it every day. I'm going to put this one last picture up because it's a stark reminder of how our world has changed in just a few decades. Let me make sure you can see it. Yeah. See that guy? Can we zoom in a bit? Let that picture sink in for a little bit. There's no reason for prices to be any higher than this right now. The only reason the price is higher is because there's more money floating around. That's it. And the more money that floats around, the easier it is for the government to get the full benefit every time they print, because it takes time for the inflation to trickle through the rest of the economy. The government gets the full benefit of the money printing. It gets to go do that program that make the politicians look like they're doing us all such great good. But can you imagine buying a Big Mac for 65 cents? How much better off would we be if we didn't have people fiddling with how we interact with each other? People that think they know better than us. No one person is smart enough to say that they know better than every other single person on this planet. And that's what governments do. All right, you got a little bit of the wild and crazy Carl today. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll talk to you all next time. Bye-bye.